In my area, there's an old railroad system. They turned that old railroad system, because it had been inactive for so long, into rails for trails, repurposing something that was once lost to time. But many times on my journeys down the old railroads, I had noticed how much litter there was. A considerable amount. And I saw some of that litter or trash was valuable stuff. Metals. Stuff we really love on this channel. And I had been thinking about it for several weeks. And just so happened this weekend I had some spare time. I was able to clean up some of these trails. And of course, we'll reap the benefits from that too. Amazingly, people seem to think the trash will just disappear.
I can logically prove that is not true.
If you just look at some of these older bottles and cans, you'll realize that this trash will stay here for an eternity. And it just takes the right person to see the opportunity or the silver lining around the dark cloud. After my first day of treasure hunting, this is all the stuff I had found. A lot of aluminum cans, some old railroad spikes, a railroad plate where they mounted the railroad tracks to, and some other steel and stuff, as well as tons of recyclables. These are all the aluminum cans that still need to be cleaned and crushed and get ready to put into the crucible. The following morning I had woke up early to process some of this aluminum, and this little lizard had found his way out of the aluminum cans and bottles and was perched along my Tupperware bin. And so far, out of all of those bottles and cans, only 3 or 4 were not beer, ironically. People really seem to be enjoying their beer around here.
Alright, this is all the aluminum we found. Those are all beer cans. These are all the modern or clean beer cans that I crushed. Out of all of the beer cans I found, these are all of the ones that were not beer. I think I crushed 1 Red Bull, but it shows you what people are spending their money on. I guess beer. And another thing that I think people may think is that people are constantly cleaning this litter up from the side of the railroad tracks or just the side of the streets, but the truth is, if you just look at the tabs on some of these and the cans, I mean, these things have sat there forever. People were a little better in the past at recycling. They'd hold on to their money for a long time, but truth is, these cans will probably sit there forever, because those are old. Those are 30-year-old cans. They're older, and it's an opportunity I think a lot of people could take. So consider doing that if you just want to make a little extra money, clean up your area, and take that money and invest it into something that will hold its value.
With a great start today too, after processing all of these aluminum cans, I decided to go out on another adventure to find more aluminum and metal. I had picked up a majority of the aluminum cans already, but I noticed I hadn't picked up too many railroad spikes or steel objects. Not because I wasn't picking them up, I just weren't really looking for them, and they overlooked them for the most part. So in day 2 we set out and we really scored big on steel. I also managed to fill up several recycle bins in the process and come across some other oddities. Stuff I had never seen before, but still intriguing nonetheless. And I didn't get a photo of everything, but this is the tally for day 2.
Alright, day 2 of searching the railroad tracks for treasures. I think we did pretty good. We got all these aluminum cans. I think we found more cans yesterday than we did today, but still found a bunch that we had overlooked. All of this, we're really focused on looking for like steel and railroad spikes, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 railroad spikes today. This cool bolt, old tin can, the lid for it. No, I'm kidding. I actually have the jar for that. Some of these washers, some threaded looking thing. This is pretty cool. This is a camel chew pouch container, but it rusted, so it looks kind of funny. Looks like we found another piece of that insulator that we found the other day, and a golf ball. That's all the recyclables, not nearly what we found yesterday, and then a little bit of trash. We scoured our railroad tracks in search of precious metals. We found tons of stuff. Railroad spikes, old steel from railroads. We even found a ton of aluminum. I want to take all that aluminum from the aluminum cans and random bits of aluminum and consolidate it down into a nice ingot so I can show y'all, and we can put it on display in our collection.
Unfortunately, right before I filmed this section of the video, I dropped my lavalier microphone and it broke. So you may notice a difference in the audio quality, and I'm sorry for that.
There's few things in this world I've found that make me feel better than accumulating a waste product and redeeming the value. Aluminum is such an important metal, and I really like it because it has a lower melting point. You can literally just see these cans melting away as I go. And as I go, I'm pulling off tab after tab because I have another project I need to do with these tabs. It's crazy to think there's people who just can't seem to see the value in things like this. The only downside I see to melting aluminum is that it doesn't have such a high resale value. It is more valuable than those normal scrap prices you'd get for like 10. My local scrapyard pays right at 40 cents per pound. For aluminum cans, that is. And that's pretty decent for something you can find just about anywhere. But on eBay I saw where 20 pounds of aluminum hand-poured ingots sold for $80. Now that's $4 a pound. That's a much better premium for that aluminum. Aluminum cans aren't pure aluminum. There's paint on them, and a lot of times there's debris on them. And when you're picking up aluminum cans that are over 30 years old on the side of a railroad track, I guarantee you there's some dirt in them. That is why you see me doing what I'm doing right here. All of that is called dross, or just basically impurities. It's paint, dirt, and oxidation. I want my aluminum bars to be as pure as possible, so I always pull off as much of the impurities as I possibly can. Aluminum has a melting point of over 1000 degrees. That's 600 degrees cooler than molten copper and silver. Yet that's 3 times hotter than the hottest your oven will go. And just think about the damage your oven does when you touch it after cooking something. There were quite a bit of impurities. Those cans were really dirty even though I had cleaned them out and rinsed them. We're making this pile look a lot smaller now, and our collection of tabs is getting a lot bigger. This is the last of the aluminum cans. Once all these are melted, we'll be ready to pull the impurities one last time. And then, well, you already know, the most dangerous and funnest part of this whole process. Pouring those bars. It really blew me away just seeing the large percentage of those cans on the side of the railroad tracks were beer. I mean, Rails for Trails was a public project to try to get people out, but our trails have kind of turned into side-by-side rides and people like to drink on those, and I don't hate on them for it. I just wish they wouldn't litter so much. But then again, I wouldn't be able to do these projects without those people throwing away all this precious aluminum, so I'm not hating that much. But honestly, I'm a positive person. I like looking for the light at the end of that long dark tunnel, or the silver lining around the dark cloud, because there's always one. You just have to know how to find it. So even if you think you're in dark or bad times, just remember these times will pass and things will get better. I can pretty much guarantee you that everybody's been through the same or very similar problems you're going through too. So just be patient and do your best. Hit it one step at a time. And we all should set goals. It's really positive. So I'm going to put a goal out there for all of y'all. My goal is to make sure I upload 52 videos this year. And while I've really found a hard time doing that, I've been pretty good so far. I had to throw a few shorts in there recently to try to fill the gap. They're a little easier to make, and for some reason I get a lot more views on my shorts. And I hope y'all do take on a hobby like this, but there's one thing that I feel is super important if you do take on this hobby. Always heat your molds. If you don't know why, you should watch one of my last videos. Think one short and my last video about a copper bullion bar exploding due to a non-heated mold. And honestly, I think glasses are the most important piece of PPE. That's why I wear a face shield and glasses sometimes. It's really obvious if you just try to do anything that you normally do while closing your eyes. You'll see how important your eyes actually are. I mean, just try to hit the like button with your eyes closed. You'll see what I mean. The moment we've all been waiting for. The moment where we get to see the reward for all of our hard work. There's not much more satisfying things than this.
For some reason, the smallest aluminum ingot I poured created the biggest problem. This smaller mold would not release the aluminum bar. Every time the aluminum ingot would slide out of the graphite mold, some water would get in contact with the center of the ingot, which was much hotter than the outer part, and create a steam explosion. That's really dangerous. It could shatter that graphite mold and shoot them off like a projectile. It'd be like a pipe bomb. So I don't recommend trying this procedure at home. But I'm kind of impatient and I like to learn the hard way. Essentially, after the ingot cooled enough, it would finally release it, but I get one more good explosion right here before I say, oh, let's try something different. And that's when I just shook this ingot profusely, and after so many attempts to do this, got one more good explosion, and I just said, this is too dangerous. I can't do this anymore. I learned something new once again, the hard way, and I just started to pound the graphite mold onto the concrete to try to get it to finally release. And persistence does pay off. That's one of my themes in my videos, is that just keep working hard and eventually you'll get it done. For some reason, when I put the ingot in the water, I don't see steam come off of it, oddly. I don't know why, but I guess it already cooled enough. And there was still one more big surprise ahead for me. I was not expecting. All of those explosions you saw happening had a side effect. This Krylon dish was pretty hot, so I was like, I better go ahead and put my gloves on just to be safe. Trying to be safe when I can. I thought, PPE, wear your protective equipment. At this point, I thought I was good. I took this, picked it up, and walked off. 5 steps later, it exploded in my hands. The whole Krylon just 2 nice bars. I really appreciate all of y'all watching my videos. If you like this kind of content, I hope it has some value for you. We'll see you next time right here on Crafted Metal.